Memoriam
check in with you guys.
Development.
So, it has been an absolute nightmare the past few weeks for me. As you guys know, I was doing promotional work for Sony Pictures and Ghostbusters Frozen Empire during release week. Then I immediately left for Boston, got violently ill in Boston, got home, was on the mend for a couple days, and then I went and did an event with Sony Pictures, Dan Aykroyd, and Crystal Head Vodka at Wonderverse Chicago, and I got violently ill there. Come to find out, I thought I had food poisoning. No, my appendix was inflamed, and went to the hospital, went through emergency surgery, got my appendix out. Now I'm dealing with complications, thinking that my gallbladder might have to come out next. Thrilling stuff. Either way, I wanted to make sure I got this episode to you. It's a little late, and I apologize about that. This year has just been stupid with my health. I'm on an upswing with mental health, but it's like my physical health has just taken a back seat now, and it's just been so stupid. Good news is I'm doing good. Just a fast PSA. Listen to your body. It knows better than you do about what's going on with it. So get yourselves checked out, whatever. I miss you guys so much. It's really nice to be back giving you some kind of content. Love all of your faces. Follow the social media so you have an idea of what's going on with me. All right, without further ado, here's a past episode with a co-star that you all are familiar with, Steve Michaels. Enjoy.
From Mothman and Nessie to the spirit that haunts your home, welcome to Bob After Dark, a podcast about legends, lore, and the supernatural. So turn your lights down and your volume up and enjoy your trip to the shadows.
Hey there, children of the night, and welcome to Bob After Dark, the show that takes you into the shadows and says hello everything that goes bumping at night. I'm your host with the most, that enjoys toast, Bob, and alongside of me, as always, is my ever wonderful, ever vampiric, ever finally cape-wearing again producer.
How about that?
My friend, my brother, my producer, Count Panic himself. Oh, hey there, Count Panic.
Bob, funny story. The cape, which I usually have a secret spot here in the studio, was missing last week. Turns out tonight I found it with the sports gear. So somebody announcing basketball games was wearing a cape, I think. But I got it back this week.
Ah, yes, the Transylvania Bloodsuckers versus Purdue Cal.
There's a Transylvania twist. They took my cape.
Absolutely. So, quick weekend update from you, Count Panic.
Bob, it was a nice weekend. I mean, spring is in the air. The equinox, the veil is thinning as we speak. But it was a very pleasant weekend there, Bob. Well rested, I shall say. Well rested. How about yours?
I am dying.
Oh, okay.
Not literally. I was at Anime Milwaukee all weekend working a convention in Milwaukee, and I'm just that weekend just wore me out. I am so exhausted. But the benefit is we're all good now, and I'm here. I'm getting ready to leave for St. Louis in a couple days. Then I'm home for a week, and then I'm off to Boston. It's just a nonstop movement here on Bob After Dark. But the coolest news is here, but we're not going to get to that yet.
By the way, I like the shirt.
Oh, thank you. It's my Count Panic shirt.
Watch on Jed TV.
Jed TV, yes. All right. And beside me is the ever wonderful reoccurring co-host on Bob After Dark, the record holder, the RPW World Heavyweight Champion of the World recently as of Saturday. Last Saturday. Not this past Saturday, Saturday before.
2 Saturdays ago.
2 Saturdays ago. The Rocket Pro World Wrestling Heavyweight Champion of the World, Steve Michaels.
Oh, hey there, Bob. How's it going?
It goes. How about you? Look at that. You brought something on air. That is his championship wrestling belt.
That's nice, isn't it?
He is the official world champion of Rocket Pro Wrestling as of 2 weeks ago.
Congratulations.
Yep. Thank you. You know, it was a hard-fought battle against Aaron Stone. And look, I have a lot of respect for the guy, but he's not on my level.
You know what they say about stones?
What do they say, Bob?
They can break your bones.
They also, if they're rolling, they gather no moss.
Yeah, so I'm assuming you rolled him, and he gained too much moss and lost his belt on the way. I'm sorry, Adam Stone. I'm trying my best here.
he gained way too much moss, and
belt slipped right off.
Just came right off and fell right into the hands of Steve Michaels.
I'm very proud of you.
Thank you so much.
This is your second title win, right?
It is my third heavyweight title.
I know about the Orlando one. What was your second one?
My second one was Berwyn Championship Wrestling.
That's right. Yeah.
Won the Berwyn Championship Wrestling heavyweight title.
Yes.
And then long time ago, Pro Wrestling 2.0 heavyweight champion.
In Orlando, right?
In Orlando.
I remember that.
And let us not forget, while not a singles title, longest reigning Southern heavyweight tag team champion in OVW history with the Legacy of Brutality.
Amazing.
Excellent.
Yeah, those are accolades.
Accolades.
Do you know what? You keep up the good work, you'll get some yourself one day, buddy.
You know, speaking of accolades, I have a really amazing announcement. The Bob After Dark store is open.
What?
Yeah.
Is this a pop-up? Is this what the kids are calling a pop-up?
No, it's a soft open. So after, let's see here. I started at 4 o'clock yesterday. I didn't get done until 10. That was 6. And then today, I put about 10 hours into it the past 2 days, just trying to make it work. Because in great Bob After Dark fashion, the website crashed the second I made the store. And then I crashed the shopping cart. And then it was just... I'll save you guys.
This is very on brand for you.
It was. And it just snowballed into this like really hellscape that was my life for the past 2 days. So it's a soft open right now, meaning there's like 8 products available right now that you can go and purchase. 3/4 sleeve length ringer, Bob After Dark ringer shirt. We have a basic t-shirt.
There's a hat on there I saw.
No. The hat was taken down.
Okay.
There was an issue with embroidery. We're figuring that out hopefully next week.
I was ready. I had my wallet open.
I know you did. We have the tank top available. I designed women's leggings and men's pajama pants and a bandana.
Oh, very nice. It's a nice variety.
Yes. So last night, if you were one of the 3 people that made purchases when the website worked for 15 minutes, you might have noticed that you played a lot less. It's because one of my other issues that happened was WooCommerce didn't add tax or shipping in to your purchase price, so I ate the cost of that.
There you go, folks. Stick it to the man.
No, it's okay. I fixed it. Now so the prices on the website will reflect shipping plus fees and taxes. So you're good.
Did you break the internet, Bob?
I broke the Bob After Dark website. Wow. I got something like 800, 900 views in an hour. And it's funny because I don't ever promote the Bob After Dark website. I just don't, because what you could do up until this point, you could go find wherever.
Yeah, and not a lot of people are using Angel Fire anymore.
I told you Lycos or Tripod.
Yeah.
That's what I was coding MySpace HTML in 2004.
Are people sending you email at bobafterdark at earthlink.net?
Netscape. Shout out Jason. No, I got it working. I got it working though, so you guys could go check that out. I'm very proud of it. Other products that are going to be launching, we're going to be doing Count Panic merch. We're not going to be doing Steve Michaels wrestling merch because he has exclusive rights with other companies for that. But we will make Steve Michaels the Bob After Dark co-host merch.
And it will be good.
Including, but not limited to, we were talking about doing a Bob After Dark shirt, but the Bob is crossed out in Microsoft Paint Red X.
Let's not give it all away.
Okay, that's
all I'm going to say.
There'll be Steve After Dark merch.
Bob After Dark basement tapes. That's all I'm saying. You ever wanted to hear the Lost Valentine's Day episode? It'll be there.
Appleseed.
Everything we've ever talked about for the past couple years. It'll be there.
Yes.
The deep cuts.
So we're working on new merch. I'm going to have some notebooks up there. You can buy a Bob After Dark journal. A water bottle is going to be available. Nice. And that's before all my other stuff. So the After Dark store, which is what we're calling it, because the plan is to launch other merch along with it as time progresses. The soft open of the After Dark store is happening right now.
And if you use promo code,
I couldn't get it to work.
It's okay. See, if you use promo code Steve After Dark, I can guarantee you that Bob will personally handwrite a letter for everyone that uses that promo code.
Yes.
He is a kind and giving man. And as much as I like to rib this guy, he likes his fans. He likes his bobbleheads. And
Children of the Night. We haven't called it the bobbleheads in years.
The same difference. Tomato, tomato.
That's fine.
And he'll do whatever it takes to get that sale.
Yeah. So funny enough, I was going to put Steve After Dark as a 5 or 10% off promo code. I couldn't get it to work, and I didn't want to crash my website again. By the time this comes out in podcast land, so my live fans, don't try to use that code.
Or try it. See what happens.
No, please don't.
See what happens. It can't hurt, right?
Jim Norman tried earlier. He sent me a picture saying the coupon code didn't work. But
that's why it's a soft open, Bob.
It's a soft open, exactly. I am working out kinks. If you follow the link through the Facebook browser, it won't work.
It doesn't work.
It doesn't work, but you can go to bobafterdark.com/merch and buy it straight from there, and it works. I don't know why. I'm not a web developer, but would you like to know what I did today? Web development. Trying to figure out what I did wrong.
I have seen less bugs in the movie A Bug's Life than it sounds like this website has.
Oh, it's been a nightmare. But the good news is, if you look through the rest of the website, it's bad. No pun intended.
Way to drive traffic to the website.
There's nothing
go check it out. It's bad.
It's bad. Bob After Dark. No, if
that could be a good thing too.
I had to reskin the entire website to make it work, and I had to eliminate all the fun plugins to make it work.
Was it like looking like Mr. X's Mystery Man website?
It was. So originally I had it set up to look like an early 2000s like forum. That was the aesthetic I went for. I seriously did that on purpose. But now the current...
On purpose?
No, I really did. When I first set up the website, I wanted it to look like an old school like forum website that you would post spooky articles to. But, that didn't work. So I had to scrape it. Shout out to Pat, by the way, from Ghostly Podcast. That man went to dialysis, came home, took my call, sat up post-dialysis with me until like 10:30 at night, trying to figure this out with me. And I can't thank him enough. And, we were trying to make other themes work. And at one point, there was a giant woman wearing, like, headphones on my website that we couldn't get rid of. And I was just like, I guess that's what I'm doing now. It's just, you couldn't delete her off the theme. But it was the only one that would work at the moment. I'm like, all right, so you're going to go to bobafterdark.com and you're going to see this, like, happy-go-lucky, like, hipster woman wearing giant headphones. Nothing to do with my product. I'm not selling Bob After Dark headphones. I'm not partnered with Beats.
You missed your opportunity. You could have.
I could have. Dr. Dre, he sold it, didn't he?
Dr. Bob.
Did Dr. Dre sell his rights to Beats?
I don't know, but I wasn't expecting you to give a shout-out to Dre in the middle of your episode
tonight. Is he still called
tonight.
Dr. Dre? Or is it just Dre now?
Bob didn't forget about him.
I didn't.
I see what you did, Panic. Good job.
Is he still known as Dr. Dre or just Dre?
You can call him Doctor.
Okay, so Dr. Dre, if you're listening to this and you're looking to sponsor a paranormal podcast, I don't know if you still own Beats. I think you sold it. But if you still own them and you're looking for a brand deal, I'm your guy.
Anyone else you wanna pitch to that is 100% not listening tonight?
Biggie Smalls. So I want you to know, and there's a reason for this, okay? So, and I'll tell you guys this story. I've had more emails about my show notes than I did, like, because normally I'll get fan mail. People will be like, oh, Bob, you goofy guy, you mispronounced this. Or, Bob, that's some really good information. I had people legitimately reaching out to me from last week's podcast episode that went up last Wednesday about ritual pastas, and I put, what does Bloody Mary Candyman and Biggie Smalls all have in common is you could summon them by looking into a mirror and saying their name 3 times. And in the Facebook promotion I did for the episode, I put Biggie Smalls in there, and people were like, "Biggie Smalls, you can't really summon him from a mirror. That's like a South Park episode." And I was like,
"Have they tried it?"
No.
Okay, then how can you say? How dare you say that we can't do it? Have you listened to this show?
Long story short, yes, I did that as a joke. I'm glad you guys realized that was a joke. Anyway, if this is your first time ever watching or listening to Bob,
Can we get promo code Johnny Appleseed to give like 50%?
No, we get 50. I'll lose money. I can't give 50% when my profits are minimal.
I'll work on it on the back end. It's fine.
Man, why is this hoodie $80? Lucky for you. There's a Bob After Dark discount for Johnny Appleseed today only. If I could find
promo code Appleseed.
Apple promo, that will never be a thing. But you can crack all the jokes I've been cracking at you for years about the Steve After Dark shop. Anyway, if this is your first time ever watching or listening to Bob After Dark, we are your weekly paranormal radio show and podcast where we talk about legends, lore, and the supernatural, things that go bump in the night, lights in the sky, weird cryptid stories, the fact that Steve is texting live on national TV, and of course, Count Panic's favorite 80s, 90s hip-hop artist.
Oh, 80s, 90s hip-hop artist. Wow.
We talked about Dr. Dre and Biggie, so I figured this is a...
How about Run DMC? We'll lump them all together. Run DMC right there.
Steve, what's your 90s, 80s, 90s hip-hop artist of
Well,
your
wait, there's
choice?
a difference here, though. 80s is very specific.
80s, 90s, like that late 80s, early 90s, like gangster rap birth, like artist.
I'm a fan of Tupac.
That's a good answer.
Tupac. Yeah.
Kyle, are you sticking with Run DMC?
Well, I was going with the 80s, though. 90s is there's a whole bunch of other...
Can you just pick somebody?
Far Side. We'll go with Far Side.
I'll go. Do you know what? I'm gonna do a deep 80s cut and go with Brand Nubian. And no one listening, maybe like one person's gonna know Brand Nubian.
Random
There's
person.
gonna be one guy that's gonna pop for me saying that Brand Nubian was really good in the 80s.
Would you like to know who mine is?
Yes.
It's a group. Wu-Tang.
Ah.
Yeah, because Wu-Tang ain't nothing.
Oh.
Blank.
It's true.
Yep.
It's true. They are not.
Count Panic, can you name me the original members of the Wu-Tang Clan?
I can't name them all.
Steve, can you name the original members of the Wu-Tang Clan?
Bob, this is an hour show, and
Let's see how I do, okay? RZA, Jizza, Raekwon, Inspector Deck, Ghostface Killer, Redman. I think that's it.
I
think you're missing a couple, right?
Yeah, you're missing a couple.
ODB. So it's RZA, Jizza, ODB, Raekwon, Inspector Deck, Ghostface Killer, Redman.
That's pretty good.
I'm almost positive I nailed them all. I forgot ODB, rest his soul.
I want to... Bob does not have that pulled up on his computer, and I can tell you that for a fact. That was right off the top of his head.
I like Wu-Tang, man.
I'm tip of the hat to you.
Well, thank you. Like, Wu-Tang was like, you want to talk about like paranormal and like interesting folks that you wouldn't expect to be like spiritual in that regard. The Wu-Tang Clan like legitimately studied like martial arts and like the spirit of movement when they're moving and stuff like that. They're very, very into it like that. So it's an interesting group.
Why have we never done an episode on Wu-Tang?
Because I guarantee you that if I go up and look up Wu-Tang paranormal encounters, I probably won't get any. And Stupid Bob's going to be like, there's plenty. I just know that like in interviews and whatnot, they talk about the idea of hand movements and energy and stuff. So
The ghost of ODB.
And the ghost of ODB, yes, rest his soul.
You're saying they're not worth an episode of the show.
I'm not saying that. I'm saying if I could come up with enough padding to make the Wu-Tang Clan.
Bob, we did an episode on Paul Bunyan. I think we could do a Wu-Tang show.
Oh, baby. If you could come up... I come up with all the episode topics around here. He might do an occasional one once a year. When was the last time you came to me and you're like, we're doing this episode?
Just now. We're doing a Wu-Tang episode.
Not tonight.
Well, not...
And you have to be the one to find research to do this. Because I will find a couple of pieces and Steve comes on He's like, oh, I have stuff. It might not be real. Did you know that RZA killed a dragon with his bare hands?
No, I did hear that.
That's paranormal.
I did hear that once.
Oh, my goodness. All right, so we split the show up into two parts. First part's the weird, spooky news of the week. That's where you, the fans, and me, the Bob, go scouring the internet for the weird, the unusual, the creepy, and the paranormal news stories. Anything from ghosts and cryptids making it into major media, lights in the sky being recorded on shaky cell phone footage, or advances that borderline on science fiction. Count Panic is not typically aware of any of the articles we're talking about.
Nor am I.
Nor are you when you're here. So we get the hashtag Panic's take, and I guess hashtag Steve's take. Somebody out there in the world, make a note. We need to make a hashtag Panic's take shirt. I don't know what that means yet, but we're doing it. All right. So you guys ready for our first news article?
Yeah.
All right. So this comes to us from Sky News. This is written by Arthi Nachiappan, Nachiappan. Women chats to dead mother using AI with spooky results. After 4 years of struggling to cope with the grief following her mother's death, actress Serene Malas turned in an AI tool that claims to stimulate the dead. The actress was separated from her mother, Naja, after fleeing Syria, their home country, to move to Germany in 2015. In Berlin, Serene gave birth to her first child, a daughter named Ishtar, and she wanted more than anything for her mother to meet her, but before she had the chance, tragedy struck. Naja died unexpectedly from kidney failure in 2018 at the age of 82. She was a guiding force in my life, Serene says of her mother. She taught me how to love myself, which is a good lesson to taught. Sounds like she was a really good mom. The one thing was cruel because it happened so suddenly. I really, really wanted to meet my daughter, and I wanted her to meet my daughter, and I wanted that last reunion. The grief was unbearable, she says. You just want any outlet, she adds, for all the emotions. If you leave it there, it just starts killing you. It starts choking you. I wanted that last chance to speak to her, she says. After 4 years of struggling to process her loss, Serene turned to Project December, an AI tool that claims to simulate the dead. Users fill out a short online form, and by the way, I'm not sponsored by them by any means, so you go there if you want, and I don't get a kickback. Users fill in a short online form with information about the person they've lost, including age, relationship to the user, and quotes from the person. The responses are fed into an AI chatbot powered by OpenAI's ChatGPT-2, an early version of the large model based on ChatGPT-1, which is super popular these days. This generates a profile based on the user's memory of the deceased person. Such models are typically trained on a vast array of books, articles, and texts from all over the internet to generate responses to the question in a manner similar to a word prediction tool. The responses are not based on factual accuracy. At the cost of about $10 a month, users can message to chatbot for about, or $10 you could get chat with the bot for an hour. For Serene, the results of the chatbot were, and she quotes, spooky. There were moments when I felt like this was very real, she says. There were also moments where I thought no one could have answered these questions in this way. Imitating her mother, the messages from the chatbot referred to Serene by her pet name, which she had included in an online form, asking if she was eating well and told her that she was watching her. I am a bit of a spiritual person, and I felt that this is a vehicle, Serene says. My mom can drop a few words in telling me that it's really me or someone pretending to be me. I would be able to tell you. And I think there were moments like that. Project December has more than 3,000 users, the majority of whom had used it to imitate deceased loved ones in conversation. Jason Rohrer, the founder of the service, says users are typically people who have dealt with the sudden loss of a loved one. Most people who use Project December for this purpose have their final conversation with the dead and loved one in a simulated way and then move on, he says. I mean, there are very few customers who keep coming back and keep the person alive. He says that there isn't much evidence that people get hooked on the tool and struggle to let it go. However, there are concerns that such tools could interrupt the natural process of grieving. Billy Dunleavy, a therapist accredited by the British Association for Counseling and Psychology, says the majority of grief therapy is learning to come to terms with the absence, learning to recognize the new reality of the new normal. So this could interrupt that. In the aftermath of grief, some people retreat and become isolated, the therapist says. She adds, you get this vulnerability coupled with this potential power to sort of create this ghost version of a lost parent or a lost child or lost friends. And that could be really detrimental to people actually moving on through the grief and getting better. There is currently no specific regulations governing the use of AI technology to imitate the dead, though the world's first comprehensive legal framework on AI is passing through the final stages of European Parliament before it is passed into law, when it enforces regulations based on the risk posed by different uses of AI. The Project December chatbot gave Serene some of the closure she needed, but she bereaved people to tread it carefully. It's very useful and it's revolutionary, she says. I was very careful not to get too caught up with it. I can see people getting addicted to using it, getting delusions by it, wanting to believe that to the point where it can go bad. I wouldn't recommend people getting too attached to something like that because it can be dangerous. Hashtag panic steak.
Yeah, this AI stuff, and I know there's been other stories like this too as well, but AI is a strange thing. Sometimes I think we're going too quickly in developing this AI. It could write papers. It could do voices. Here, learning voices of ones we have lost, which is kind of eerie. And I don't know if it's really... I mean, I guess it kind of helps some people out with the grieving process, but it's not the real person, as we all know. It's a little spooky.
Hashtag Steve's take.
You know, I think it's interesting to see these new potential uses for AI, but like very similarly, you know, I don't think that these are actually communicating with the dead. It's AI has become so advanced, especially in the past couple of years, that it can just find this information and basically aggregate the information about you from little things that you've said, and you may not realize that you've said it in passing, but it learns. And I think in that sense, like, for grieving, it's good, but it's very dangerous. It's very, very dangerous because it can become unhealthy.
Oh, I am an advocate for telling people not to reach out to psychics post-death, like
100%.
immediately. I don't talk bad about the psychic profession, but I can tell you that a lot of those people prey on emotions.
Absolutely.
And for every one good psychic that's out there doing good work and are, actually have gifts, there are 10 that are just using cold reads to pick up on things that are happening. And I advocate for people. It's like, you need to grieve. That's a natural thing that you have to go through. As you guys all know, I lost my father almost 2 years to the date. And I couldn't tell you what I would give to be able to speak to him again, but unless it was through like a metaphysical means, my father would be very upset with me if I was using an AI to like recreate his subconscious. He would be very, very mad. I'm no therapist. I'm really not. So, I mean, I play one sometimes when I bartend or I listen to my friends talk, but I can't see where this is healthy. I guess you can get some closure, but like, what kind of closure are you getting? And as like this actress was saying, you could easily get addicted to it. At $10 an hour, that adds up. You get caught up in it, and it's like
it becomes addictive, and and people look at like addiction as like alcohol or drugs or all this stuff, of some really heavy stuff, but like it can be something like this where emotionally you become so addicted to it that you're like, I believe this is my past relative. This has got to be my past relative. It's saying enough things that makes me think that it is. I got to keep doing this.
Right.
And that's going to lead to nothing but hurt.
And that's, listen, as somebody who studies the metaphysical, like for my job, and I deal in this sort of a thing constantly, I can tell you that almost certain 99.9% that this is an AI, and it is not your loved one manipulating the AI. That's not.
No,
it takes a lot.
It
takes a lot more than that for that to be a thing. And AIs are so advanced now, they could replicate anybody or anything. Right. So I get it 100%.
And that's the scary thing. It's like AI can replicate any voice now.
Yes.
AI can write entire ESPN was using them to write articles on for their website. Like, these are very advanced mechanics now.
Yes.
And I don't think people truly realize what the power of it is, and on that same note, what the danger is with it.
Yeah. And folks, you get to the argument. One of my favorite movies of all time is Blade Runner, right? And you get to that point of what's real, what's not real, Ghost in the Shell type thing.
Right.
Ghost in the Machine, I should say. Ghost in the Machine. And it's at this point, if you feel like that's real and that's where you need to get your closure from, by all means, I'm not going to stop you, but please just be careful with that, man. Because I don't see any good coming from this. Grief is something you have to go through. It's unfortunate. I just went through it. I'm still going through it every day. But I will tell you that, if I would have gone through this, and I probably would have went for it, when I was first going through it. I probably would have went for it because I didn't get a chance to talk to my father as a whole towards the end. And I would have loved for that. And I probably would have fallen for this. But then me looking back on it now as somebody who's kind of healed from the trauma, that's just not the way to go, man.
Well, and that's the problem, is it's so predatory.
Right.
And it's very clear that this isn't an altruistic motive for this. There's money in play, and it's being monetized. And, that's just, it's sad. It's just real sad.
All right. Let's move on to the next. Do we have a caller, by the way?
We do not.
Oh, by the way, our phone lines are open. 219-845-1100.
It's a rough way to start this show on this one, Bob.
Yeah, exactly. We were on a record for a while, and now we just kind of petered off. So anyway, let's move on to an upbeat. By upbeat, I mean talking about possessed haunted dolls.
That's your favorite subject.
It's my favorite subject. I didn't want to talk about this, but I would be doing all of you a disjustice by not talking about it. So first, this article comes to us from The Mirror, which is a tabloidy.
It's a UK tabloid
thing. And this is written by Lee Dalgetty, Dalgetty.
I'll just say this: tabloid has a lot of bad connotations. Mirror actually does its research. It has a lot of salacious headlines, but they do their research.
Yes. Good. Thank you, Stan. Are you a subscriber to The Mirror?
I am not.
Okay. So how would you know this?
I'm a fan of media.
Okay. A creepy Edinburgh doll terrifies locals as they lose sleep over menacing toy in charity shop. Shoppers have been left terrified after a charity shop in Edinburgh. Thank you. Edinburgh. I got myself all tongue-tied there. Edinburgh put a menacing doll on display for sale. The creepy toy has sparked a raft of comments online because of its frightening appearance. It began after a local who takes photos of Marchmont, Morningside, and nearby places in Edinburgh put up a photo of a scary doll they saw in a shop. Soon, lots of people were commenting online saying how terrified the doll they were. On Twitter, they're still calling it Twitter in England, by the way, in the UK.
Good for them.
Good for them. One person on Twitter wondered that the doll, and I quote, comes to life at night. Some even joked about it being part of an unsolved murders in Morningside. The spooky toy was found in the charity shop in Morningside. It was first priced at €180, but then dropped to €90. No one knows if its price went down because people believe it's haunted. That is lovely.
That is terrifying.
Look
That's
at that.
absolutely that's like a haunted Ron Weasley.
Yes. I didn't post it because apparently this is giving people nightmares.
Wow.
So I didn't want you guys to be subjected to nightmares.
Yep.
I don't want to.
I just had to see it.
Just you, Steve. Reacting to the creepy image, Lucy Norris posted. Oh, here they go. Posted on X, formerly Twitter. Doll for sale in Morningside. They must have a penchant for menacing toys. Another person said, that thing totally comes to life at night, doesn't it? Someone else nodded, thanks for that. Not sure I'll be sleeping tonight. Need to know where in Morningside that is so I can avoid it. Birthlink Thrift Shops also commented, absolutely not. No thanks. The reduction is written in blood, isn't it? Margaret Gray shared, I saw this today, creepiest thing ever. Then I saw the price, making it even more scary. Jackie Morrison asked, any unsolved murders in Morningside? Then there's your culprit. Barry Turnbull jokingly declared, so that's where Baby Jane got to. Elaine Finlay had a suggestion and said, set fire to it immediately. Hashtag Panics Take.
Yeah, Bob. Again, these dolls terrifying. I'm kind of curious, Bob. Maybe after the show I'll take a look at this picture. But a doll that could cause nightmares by multiple people, I guess, is someone that you doesn't want to be messed with, to me at least.
Yes. Hashtag Steve's Take.
Bob, I know how much you adore haunted dolls.
No. I'm not big in the Edinburgh community, so I don't think you're going to find somebody there to buy this for me and ship it international.
No, I mean, this reminds me of like you remember Goosebumps?
I've seen Goosebumps,
and
yes. I'm
Slappy?
familiar. Yeah, Slappy the Dummy.
Slappy the Dummy. And it's like Slappy. Like, it's just this weird doll, and it creeps everyone out. And looking at that picture, I'm sure that thing's probably killed somebody.
That's fair. It's like, we have Robert the Doll here in America and Key West. And this thing is just in Edinburgh where it can stay.
Yeah.
That's across the entire ocean.
It is.
I won't know it's there. It's there. I'm not going there anytime soon.
It's creepy. It's a creepy doll. I do not want one of those.
Nope.
But
in
once we get the website up and running and the shop up and running, maybe we'll do a Thanksgiving special, like a Black Friday special with haunted doll.
You want
free haunted doll with every t-shirt purchase.
I'll just start giving them away. That sounds great. All right. So last news story comes to us. Do you have a news story?
I think we both know the answer to this.
You came prepared the last two times.
I did, and things came up, and I was gonna have some, and then I didn't.
Well, here's a news story I think you're actually going to find extremely fascinating. Okay. It's from Yahoo News. I've never quoted Yahoo News before, ever. By the way, no Tim Binnall article this week. I think you all should be proud of me. I think that's 2 weeks in a row.
You're spreading your wings, Bob.
Yeah, something like that. This is This is written by Megan Brugger from KTVX, Yahoo News. Investigation into paranormal activity in Utah confirmed by the Department of Defense.
Interesting.
Yes. All right. So Salt Lake City, a document recently published by the Department of Defense All Domain Anomaly Resolution Office took into unidentified anomalous phenomena and included a section on Utah. The nearly 70-page report said that there's an investigation into an alleged hotspot of UAP and paranormal activity at a property in Utah, which at the time was owned by the head of the private sector organization. According to the report, investigators examined reports of shadowy figures and creatures and explored remote viewing and human consciousness anomalies. Additionally, the report states investigators plan to hire psychics to study interdimensional phenomena believed to be happening at the location frequently. The report did state that all investigative efforts at all levels of classification concluded that most sightings were ordinary objects and the phenomena and the result of misidentification. However, the report states many of the cases remain unresolved. The lack of actionable researchable data, specifically the lack of speed and altitude and the size of the reported UAP, combined with the resource constraints, high volumes of cases, and perceived differing levels of support from the USG officials were factors in all investigative reports, the report states. Even with significant advances in ground and air-based sensors, the apparent inability to collect sufficient and high-quality data for scientific analysis continues to plague investigators. The investigations were reportedly managed and implemented by a range of experts, scientists, academics, military, and intelligence officers under differing leaders, all of whom held their own perspectives that led them to the particular conclusions of the origins of the UAP, the report states. The investigators reportedly all had in common the belief that the UAP represented an unknown and therefore theoretically posed a potential threat of indeterminate nature. Hashtag panic state.
Yeah, so I'm saying was there enough to really, I mean, you got to have all the facts straight here. Let's put the camera on me right there. You got to have all the facts straight here, Bob, so the data wasn't kind of consistent?
So they weren't able to get, look, it's the Department of Defense.
Yeah.
The DOD. They're not going to just haphazardly pick out like a couple investigators with flashlights and say, go do some, spirit box work and hope for the best. No, they were sending like national leaders in like the scientific community to like go and investigate this. That it's not, and there's nothing wrong with investigators on the local level, but the DOD aren't paying,
it's a whole
me
different ballgame.
Yeah, they're not paying me and Steve to go out there with an infrared camera being like, let's go investigate everybody. No, they're looking for definitive proof. Mm-hmm. So does that answer your question?
Yeah, it does. Well, that's very, I hope they would go off the proof there, but that does answer my question, Bob. It's a strange, a lot of twists, it seems like, to this story.
So what do you think, Steve's take?
So first off, based off of what everything in that article,
yeah,
this is at Skinwalker Ranch.
Yes, but they won't call
it that.
Right.
But that's the place.
Yes.
Which, look, there's not a lot of places in Utah with that kind of paranormal activity.
No.
And especially with that specific level of paranormal activity. So, it's fascinating that the Department of Defense would actually step in. Like, they had to have seen enough or heard enough that they were like, something's off here.
Yes.
And I think all of us, regardless of how into the paranormal we are, know the government just doesn't do that.
No. The DOD ain't getting involved in ghost stories, man. That's at least not officially. And I understand that this is treading a little bit into conspiracy territory. I'm not a conspiracy theory show, but
I think it's far enough away from the conspiracy theory area though, because look, I mean it's scientific. It's been proven time and time again that the government has, in general, an edict of deny.
Yes.
Just for national security, if for nothing else. And for them to be like, okay, let's check this place out. Let's get the top scientists. Let's get the top investigators. Let's get send people from the military out, high-ranking officials from the military out to research this.
Yes.
That's something to take note of.
So I thought we have a caller on the line.
We do.
Caller, you're on the air.
Oh, hey there, Bob. Hey there, Steve.
Oh, hey there, John.
First of all, congratulations, Steve, on winning the championship belt there. Sure you worked hard for it and well-deserved, so congratulations on that.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Congratulations to you, Bob, on the start of your new venture with your Bob After Dark merch taking off. I'm sure it's going to fly off the shelves, and good luck with that.
You
But
broke the internet already, right, Bob?
What's that?
You broke the internet.
I broke my portion of the internet. Yes.
hey, it'll take off. It's like anything else. It takes some time, right?
Yes.
But and you know what? On the subject of dolls, are dolls common anymore? I mean, does anybody, like back in the day, everybody maybe got a doll that was popular, but are dolls still in existence anymore as far as, popularity, anything like that? I mean,
I can tell you that as of like 10 years ago, my niece went to the Cabbage Patch place, not the dance, the Cabbage Patch Ranch, and picked her doll out of the ground.
Do they still do that? They still have the Cabbage Patch farm?
Is it called a farm?
Yeah.
I don't know the name of it.
It's in Georgia.
Yes, it was. I've never been. I was, that wasn't for me. So, but my niece 10 years ago
no
went.
judgment.
So, yeah, no, I'm too young for that. And apparently it's still a thing to this day.
I know the Cabbage Patch dolls were always popular. But to be honest with you, I don't know if how popular it is now. But if it's still out there, it's something I don't know about.
Oh, sure. But I'm also not raising a kid, so I don't know.
Fun fact: the guy who created Cabbage Patch stole the idea
from a woman. Yeah.
Who handmade each one.
Yeah, because she would do it at like artesian festivals.
Yeah,
and stuff.
and he saw it and he stole it.
Yep.
Yeah. What a
they were very, very rare to get. That you almost had to know somebody that could set aside a Cabbage Patch doll for you back in the day, because they were off the shelves in no time. But I think the big mystery is how could somebody steal the Count's cape, and then they find it in the closet now. I mean,
they found it in the sports rack.
That's kind of a spooky thing too. I mean, but it's not a jersey. It doesn't have a number on it. It's not a tank top. It's not a referee shirt. It's not a.
In all fairness, I'm sure there's bats in that closet.
Hey, how about that?
Yeah, I think what the old studio's haunted. Maybe something's going on over there too with that one.
I think I saw Sam Michael wearing it earlier.
It could be Sam, yeah. Well, John, thank you so much for calling in. Count Panic has the information so you can order your tank top. Queen and Knight made the tank top specifically for you. So.
I appreciate you, Bob. Thank you both.
Absolutely. Thanks, John, for calling in. We appreciate you.
All right, we'll see you guys.
Have
Thanks.
a good one.
Thank you.
Do we have another caller?
We do not, but Bob, you underrate the folks that love tank tops out there.
I love tank tops.
I'm not making a gripe on
tank tops.
I'm not making a gripe about tank tops. I'm just saying John requested a tank top.
I know.
So I made sure that we designed a tank top. That was like the first product on my brain other than T-shirts.
I bet you that's going to be the hottest selling item. Bob.
So far, T-shirts, I've sold 3 T-shirts and 1 3/4 sleeve ringer shirt.
Nice.
Yes. I mean, and keep in mind, the shop's only been possibly active on and off when it wants to be. But to round up the story about the DOD investigation, I read the book on the Skinwalker Ranch stuff. From the original investigators that went in there and the researchers from the University of Utah went in there. And the stuff that the people native to that area talk about.
Insane.
And it's not like they're doing it for hoopla, because if you go and speak to the native people of that area, I'm talking Native Americans,
right,
they won't go near that spot.
Right.
And there were reports. I mean, I could do an entire 3-part series on Skinwalker Ranch. I don't like using that term, by the way.
I'm not, because
that's meant for a specific group of people. Right. But that's what they referred to it as, even the natives there. So as someone who researched and studied very specifically Native Americans and that,
I don't like discussing those creatures.
No.
Because there's a lot of bad energy around it.
Oh yeah.
And I don't talk about energy. I'm not an energy guy, but that's my thing. I won't talk about
it. Still strikes fear in the tribe's minds to this day. People that are still living on reservations in the Pacific Southwest of America, Arizona, New Mexico.
Yeah.
People still there are definitely afraid of these things.
And there's still reports of them to this day.
So the reason whenever I would use that term is if I'm talking about it specific in relative to those tribes, because a popular trope right now online is saying, oh, the skinwalker. It's like, no, dude, that term is like not.
It's very specific.
It's very specific. Shape-shifting creature, sure. I mean, people could say the same thing about the Wendigo, but that's more broad.
Right.
But like, anyway, so Skinwalker Ranch, it's the name of it, not trying to go down that route, but like there were reports of, the weirdest one I saw was a guy who swore that in the woods he saw some sort of dogman-like creature wearing a trench coat smoking a cigarette against a tree. And I'm not just saying that for laughs.
Yeah.
And the scary thing is, I 100% believe that person.
Right.
And over the years, it's always been stated that the military bought the property from the original owners, because if there's a show on Travel now called In Search of Skinwalker Ranch, and these people try, like I watched the first season, and they get there, and there are like severely armed guards that won't tell you where they're from, but they're around the perimeter at all times.
It's very similar to the black car guys.
Yes.
At Area 51.
Yes. And in this case, it's interesting because now there's a DOD report coming out from it. So that means those armed guards were government, they were military, and they're in there investigating anomalies. It's not like they're in there, there's oil under there, or there's
it's not, oh, this is a base or what. It's no, we want to find out what's going on because we've heard about it.
Yeah, and that's serious. We talked about the congressional UFO hearing last year, a lot on the show, but now we're at this point, and this article is not being talked about by anybody.
And I think something interesting that we kind of gloss over on this is this the fact that they specifically mention remote viewing.
Yes.
And it is well documented, not conspiracy, well documented that the government in the 60s, 70s, and 80s actually put time and effort in on trying to see if remote viewing worked.
Yes. And
the fact that they're in a place researching it again, I think is something to note.
Yep, I agree. I'm going to argue that outside of the congressional hearing, this is the second most important article I've ever covered on the show, and no one's talking about it.
Yeah, there's a lot to this, and in reality, we could talk for a whole episode.
Yeah, exactly. I just wanted to touch base
this in depth, but it's definitely interesting.
And it's interesting because they didn't call it by the name. They just said a spot in Utah. So like they knew what they were doing. It
was dog whistled.
Yes.
Where it was like, if you knew,
you knew.
You knew.
And we're telling you.
Yeah. You're welcome.
You're welcome. All right. Ready for a quick break?
Hey, Panic, start my car when I leave this place.
All right. Count Panic. And Steve, you ready to take a break?
Yeah, always. Yeah.
All right. So for our live fans, stick around. We'll be right back. And for our podcast fans, stick around. You'll be hearing words from a podcast that you should be listening to. Stay tuned.
Welcome to Ghostly.
Pat, what are you doing?
What? I want people to know that we're a podcast that takes a deep dive into some of the scariest ghost stories.
But we don't do the creepy voices or weird sound effects. We debate the ghost stories. And aren't you supposed to be the skeptic?
I am, but they'll find that out once they listen.
Look, all you have to do is tell them to listen to Ghostly, and that our listeners get to decide which stories are real.
And which stories are just old folklore.
Exactly.
Download Ghostly wherever you find great podcasts.
Oh, jeez.
And we're back. Wow. Oh, hey there, Accountant Steve.
Hey, hey there.
Steve, what'd you do during break? I'll change it up a little bit this week.
Yeah, I'm usually the second one thrown to. You know, I went in search of Slappy.
The dummy.
The Slappy the dummy.
Did you find it?
I looked around a corner and there he was. He was like, Slappy! And I was like, oh my God, that's the dummy. And I ran back in here. So watch out for that outside the studio.
Count could go first. Count, what'd you do during break?
Bob, during the break, I purchased all the tank tops available at the Bob After Dark shop at bobafterdark.com.
Yes.
Did I get that one right? This is the website, correct? BobAfterDark.com?
Yes, the bobafterdark.com/merch.
Good.
But you can just go to Bob After Dark and click the merch button.
Hit
on
the
the
merch
top.
button.
Hit
That's
the merch
fine.
button.
Okay.
You'll
Thanks
get
for
there
that
eventually.
shameless plug.
Gotta
Good
tie it
job,
in.
Count Panic. We
We
appreciate
gotta
you.
tie it in. What'd you do?
What did I do during break? I picked up a new hobby, guys.
What did you do?
Whittling?
No, I picked up whittling several times over the years on the show. No, I took up acrobats. So I'm doing
You
like
just-
trapeze arts.
Oh, okay. I thought you just were like started collecting different acrobats.
No, it's acrobatics.
Oh, yeah, that's cool.
I picked up acrobats. Acrobating.
That explains the net out there.
Yes, I am doing trapeze art.
So how long do you have to do this before like we can launch you out of a cannon? Or can I just do that now?
That's not trapeze.
It's still acrobatics.
I'm specializing in trapeze.
Okay, what if I do it and aim it at like one of the trapeze bars?
That's not how that works.
It could be.
I mean, I guess. I'm still learning. I'm at like level 2 of like 5.
No better way to learn than to just get thrown
If
in the
you
fire.
could find a cannon that would fit me and fire me out of it without causing me any physical harm.
Stay tuned.
All right. So, this week on Bob After Dark, I don't know what it is. This isn't a theme by any means, but we've been talking about like haunted roads lately.
Yeah.
Don't know why.
Bridges and roads.
Bridges, roads. I have a Vanishing Hitchhiker story for you guys this week.
Really?
Yes.
I hate when that happens.
What?
I hate when that happens.
So, before we start, I have a video for you to play.
Let's see.
This is from Mr. Masquerade on YouTube. One of my favorite YouTubers, actually. I haven't kept up with his work in a while, but he was one of the first people I was ever watching like religiously on Bob After Dark. He tells spooky stories that he finds on the internet, and this particular story talks about our case this week, which is the Phantom Hitchhiker of Black Horse Lake in Montana.
And Bob, I should ask, no swearing in this video, correct?
No, there shouldn't be any swearing.
All right, perfect. Here we go.
Number 1. I had a football coach back in high school who was also one of my teachers for a semester. When he was a lot younger and newly married, he had a coaching job at a small college in Montana. He said that after practice one evening, he was making his long commute home, and the road ran alongside just fields and fields of hay and grain. Since it was late summer, early fall, it wasn't even approaching dark yet. His vehicle was an old, beat-up truck with just a bench seat. Anyway, he's driving along when he sees a hitchhiker on the shoulder. This being back in the day in small-town Montana, my teacher pulled over to let the guy in without a second thought. The man was described as wearing a really old, outdated style of suit. Not quite a zoot suit, but styled in a similar baggy way. He also had a big, stylish hat. Basically, this guy looked like he was straight out of the 40s. My teacher thought it was weird that he was so overdressed, it being so hot outside and all. But maybe that was the only clothing he had. So the guy gets in next to my teacher without a word. My teacher asks him where he needs to go, and the guy just points forward. My teacher tried talking to the guy, just trying to make simple conversation. But the guy wouldn't speak or even acknowledge him. He just pulled his hat down like he was sleeping. Out of nowhere, the guy just tips up his hat, looks out the window and says, "Stop the car, now." My teacher pulls over and lets him out, not wanting to offend a possibly crazy man. The guy stands on the side of the road for a second, and then, at a dead sprint, just runs off into the field beside the road, until my teacher couldn't see him anymore. After a long enough wait, my teacher gets back in the truck, and starts.
Now, wait a second, Bob. You said this was clear.
Hey, future editing Bob here. Guess what? That video totally had swearing in it. So right after Count Panic warned me, we played a little bit of the clip, and there was definitely a swear. And then there was some banter back and forth that I felt like didn't fit the episode afterwards. The Patreon will be launching very soon. This will probably be a Patreon exclusive clip in the very near future. So stick an eye out for that. Enjoy the rest of the show. I will post the video link up. You guys can go and watch it for yourselves. But let's talk a little bit about the Vanishing Hitchhiker legend, and specifically the Phantom Hitchhiker of Black Horse Lake in Montana. The first article I'm going to be reading to you from is from puzzleboxhorror.com, which is a very oddly specific name for a website.
It's very specific.
But they nail it perfectly. I'm going to read this definition for a Vanishing Hitchhiker story of what it is, and I'm going to pass it off to you to kind of give me your take on it. So the Vanishing Hitchhiker legends. There are two primary manifestations of Vanishing Hitchhiker legend, the first being particularly famous around Britain and the U.S. So it goes, someone is driving home at night when they spot a young girl hitching from the roadside. She sits back in the yard, and in some point of the journey mysteriously disappears. Having been given her renditions of the story, the driver then visits the graveyard where she is buried, only to find a jacket hung over the gravestone. In the story's other depiction, one rarely heard around the UK, the hitchhiker is male, a male supernatural being. He tells of some great misfortune or disaster that will befall the earth before disappearing into the night. So the legend says all of the entity's predictions come true, leading the drivers to believe they witnessed an angel or even Jesus Christ himself. Hitchhiking at its core has been inherently scary for both parties involved. Both hitchhiker and driver at equal risk during an age-old favor, and neither knows quite who they're sitting next to, at least at first. This fear has been milked through the ages in horror cinema and literature, most notably in the Rutger Hauer road horror classic The Hitcher in 1986. So, Steve...
Yes.
In your words, what is a Vanishing Hitchhiker story as far as a ghost trope is concerned?
So, Vanishing Hitchhikers are assuming that a Vanishing Hitchhiker is real. Now, a lot of these are very similar tales. It would be more along the lines of something that's a little bit more of an intelligent haunting, because it interacts with its environment.
Yes.
Asks for a ride, sits down, you talk to it, it tells you something, and then boom, gone.
Yes.
What I find interesting about hitchhiker stories is that they're literally global.
Yes.
I don't know. I like hearing them because they're all very similar, but they all have their own little twists.
Yep. There are stories dating back thousands of years to ancient lore and spiritualism and religions where characters like Zeus or even Odin were they disguise themselves as human, not to say hitchhiking, but they'll disguise themselves as a human to go paupering, or maybe they need a ride in a carriage, which I guess is still hitchhiking.
They're doing tests.
They're doing tests to see where humanity is at with humility. And most of the time they fail. Sometimes you get a positive story about the farmers that took in Zeus and let him eat, and then he turned them into trees, I believe is the story, right?
I believe so, yeah.
So that might have been Odin. I know the Norse pagans are going to be like, Bob, that was Odin. And I'm like, I think you're right. But anywho, there's stories like that dating thousands of years where there's some sort of deity or spirit that's coming to you for some sort of aid. And in this case, with the Vanishing Hitchhiker, the best way I could describe it is it's a trope in ghost stories where the being that you encounter is on the side of the road looking for a ride, or they're walking seeming lost and you offer them a ride.
Right.
The most famous of those stories, maybe around here, but I would say in country in general, the story of Resurrection Mary, she's a hitchhiking ghost.
Right.
The other one, and I know this is more humor and not real, but the hitchhiking ghosts in the Haunted Mansion rides at Disney built off of that trope.
Exactly.
I'm not, and then people might be like, well, that's obviously fake. Yeah, I agree with you. I'm not telling you the hitchhiking ghosts are real, but they were based on an actual like based on actual ghost stories that we tell all the time.
Right. I mean, and there's, I can think of easily a half dozen to a dozen from the U.S. alone.
Yep.
I can think of a couple from the U.K.
Yep.
Like, I mean, this is a global kind of a phenomenon and tale. And but what makes this a little bit different is that it's offering something.
Yes. So this one is right in Montana, of all places, too, and it's near Black Horse Lake. Great Falls in Cascade County is a county named for the falls on the Missouri River. It is the third largest city in Montana. Just outside Great Falls sits the seasonal Black Horse Lake, which only sees water during the spring and early summer. If you're driving down the stretch of road adjacent to the lake just off of Highway 87 toward Fort Benton, you might be unlucky enough to encounter a very different kind of phantom hitchhiker. Reports tell of a tall Native American man with long black hair inconspicuously hitching a ride. Some claim to spot him in bib overalls. Others say that he dons a denim jacket and jeans. However, when the driver gets close enough to the figure, suddenly he appears in front of the car, rolling onto the windscreen with a deadly thud. Many people react in the obvious manner, screeching to a halt and getting out to check if the poor fellow is okay. Of course, in true spectral fashion, the man is nowhere to be seen, and the car is always without a scratch. This is both a positive and a negative, as though no physical damage has been dealt. The driver must now continue their lives with no proof to themselves or others that they really witnessed what they think they did. With no proof, the whole ordeal can easily be passed off as a trick of the overactive imagination, though this particular phenomenon has occurred so frequently and with such similarity that it has cemented itself in the annuals of the International Urban Legends forever. Many believe that this is a ghost of a transient Native American whose nomadic lifestyle was violently interrupted one night by the passing car that struck him. Many renditions of the same tale tell the man is forced to relive his last brutal moments on Earth in a Palm Springs-esque infinite loop, conjuring an even greater horror to nightmare. So this is an interesting one, because this is one version of the story where it's this native man is walking and he always gets hit by the car.
Right.
Which would lead me to think that's not an intelligent haunting, that's a residual haunting.
Yes, but the odd part, this is where it gets to a gray area, is that it interacts with its environment.
Yes, but it's living a time loop.
It is. It's repeating the same moment over and over and over and over again, but it's still interacting with a vehicle and causing the vehicle to stop, and it's causing, like, obviously it would be different vehicles, so it would be interacting in different ways with the different vehicles, most likely. So that makes it a bit unusual in the sense of the kind of the two-piece classification system.
Sure.
But that one seems more feasible than like the standard traditional, pickup hitchhiker.
Hitchhiker gets in the car.
Hitchhiker gets in the car, tells you
Drop me off
a
at the
little
cemetery.
thing. Yeah, drop me off here and then disappears.
Yes. There is a problem, however, and this one comes to us from highway.com. There's a problem, however. No one has actually found evidence, like an accident report, to corroborate a hitchhiker's death in that area. It's more likely that this suspenseful tale is simply a made-up classic version of a ghost story. In other words, this urban legend has no basis in reality.
So you're saying it's hooey?
It is.
Hashtag hooey.
It could be potentially hooey.
Hashtag hooey.
However, I have more to add. Oh. You may not see a tragic spirit wearing denim, but the Great Falls area offers many other unforgettable experiences. As for Black Horse Lake, the seasonal lake doesn't have much to see. It depends on when you pass through. A much better time is Benton Lake, just 3 miles up the road. It's 6,000-acre wetlands of area and part of a 19-square-mile national wildlife refuge. So, just fun fact.
Okay.
Yes. Montana has other hitchhiking ghost stories, but we were talking about this one in particular because there's another reference to the same story, but this time I found 2 different origin stories for it.
Fantastic.
One, they pick up this native man who doesn't speak very much, and he actually gets in the car, and he'll ask you for a cigarette if you're smoking. Upon giving him a cigarette, he will tell you your fortune. He'll tell you that you're going to die a horrible death, and he just vanishes into thin air, leaving behind a lit cigarette in the backseat of your car.
Okay, that sounds very tropey.
Oh, it gets better.
Okay, what? Go ahead.
Another story says that they pick up the native man, and he doesn't speak much, but doesn't ask for a cigarette this time. He just says, drop him off here in a remote area in the woods. And the driver will pull over, let him out of the car. He'll rise up, turn into some sort of werewolf creature, and chases your car down at inhuman speeds.
I mean,
I know I lost you there.
Yeah, but I mean, we can kind of loop back around to something that we briefly discussed during the news.
Hooey?
Shapeshifters,
yes,
are not uncommon.
No.
Especially in that would be a plains state.
Yes.
Not uncommon. Are
you defending this random Reddit post I found? I'm quoting this from Reddit.
I am saying it is hooey, but I would be more likely to believe it than the take the cigarette, disappear.
Yes. Okay. What I find interesting about the original story is the concept of them hitting this spirit, and they actually hear the thud of the noise of the car.
Right.
And that's a common story that happens repeatedly with people that have been out there that believe that they've seen this native man or this native man spirit.
Right.
When a spirit interacts with its environment, if it's a residual haunting, 9 times out of 10, you might hear some creaking on the floorboards, but like this thing, you hit it, and its corporeal form makes a thud noise as if you hit it.
Right.
That is the interesting part of the story, because that's also part of the Resurrection Mary lore here in Chicago. So a lot of people believe that when they're driving up and down Archer Avenue, they tell stories of a woman running out in the middle of Archer, right by Resurrection Cemetery. She jumps out, and the motorist strikes her and hits her, and they get out to go look, and she's gone. And most of the time, they're right by Chet's when they do it. They get out of the car, they walk into Chet's. Lo and behold, they go in there and they're like, "Oh my God, there was an accident, but I can't find her." And they're like, "Oh, was she wearing white? She had long black hair? That's just Mary. Sorry."
Yeah, and it's all very. It's very standard, right? Like,
yes.
In these kinds of legends, these are what you always hear. These are the things that you always hear. It's the, oh, someone ran in front of my car and I think I hit them and I need emergency help, or, I picked them up and they sat down next to me and didn't say a word and dropped them off at the location that they said and then disappeared, and or they were in the back seat and they had a cigarette and then disappeared once we hit a certain point. Like, same tale over and over and over again, and it's all hooey. It's all hooey. But I think it's what's fascinating to me is how so many places globally have the same stories.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
What causes a phantom hitchhiker then? Is it somebody died on a ley line and their pattern just mimics the area that they died? Is it if it's a residual haunting and they died there? Is it just that they're there and they're mimicking this time loop? What causes, let's eliminate scientific thought. I know you're a man of science, so let's eliminate science, and you are Steve, the ghost enthusiast, with no general thought as far as scientific proof.
Right.
What causes a phantom hitchhiker, especially in this case in Montana? What caused it if we're not able to find any records of this man dying? I don't want to say that takes it completely out of the picture, because there's plenty of reports. You ever see I Know What You Did Last Summer? That was based on them hitting somebody. And,
yeah, I mean, I would make the argument that would make it more plausible for it to become a repeat haunting. Because then if it wasn't reported and no one knows it happened, and then there's no body, then there's a lot of unrest.
Yes.
And that's a cocktail for a haunting.
Right.
Especially major traumatic event.
Right, of course, I agree.
So, making the assumption that this is true and that something like this can happen, my belief would be that somebody did get hit by a vehicle. And it's already established there are lakes nearby. There are bodies of water nearby. It wouldn't be implausible to say that late at night someone got hit, didn't want to deal with it, person who hit him didn't want to get in trouble, and then decided to deal with it in their own way.
Of course.
Again, all hypothetical, none of this, probably happened, but I if it did, that would be my assumption as what would cause a haunting like this.
I would say the most believable tale out of all three is the hitting the ghost.
I would agree.
Hitting this male spirit. If it's a residual haunting, this thing's just repeating the fact that it gets hit constantly.
Right.
And I don't know if it just,
which that's a heck of an afterlife.
Well, it's something, but it's a question again of, is it picking certain people to appear to? It's not happening to every car that drives on that, because that's an interstate, man.
Right.
That, and then it's an interstate in a rural area, so maybe it's not as potently busy.
Right.
But there's gonna be cars driving down that road.
Is it time locked? Is it date locked?
That's the thing.
A lot of residual hauntings we can trace very specifically. Hey, at 12:01 every night, I hear footsteps that walk from one side of the hall to the other and then walk back, and that's it. Every night. Okay, cool. We can track that. There seems to be no specific correlation that anyone has said, which makes it a little bit more unusual.
Yeah. Panic, what's your take on it?
Well, hitchhikers in general, Bob, you got to be careful, because you never know if they're an axe murderer or whatnot. And, of course, we heard stories about that before. But, for a ghost hitchhiker, that's extra spooky, and there's a ton of them out there, from the Disney variety to the real ones, the women in white and whatnot. But just for me, at least, I know I wouldn't be picking up anyone, especially on a dark and spooky night, Bob. I know it seems wrong. We got to be good people out there, but you just never know, right? You just never know. Maybe call the cops and ask for help or something. I don't know.
I want to point out one other thing about this, and the reason why I picked this topic with the Black Horse Lake hitchhiking ghost. Most hitchhiking ghost stories are women in white. This is a story of a native man walking around. His outfit differs a little bit.
A man in black.
A man in black, and he's wearing denim. Being able to pick up that they're wearing denim, that takes observation. You know what I'm saying? Like overalls, bib overalls, things like that, or even just a denim jacket. Those are things that take a second to register. So you had to have gotten a really good look at this thing to say wearing denim. And it's not a lady in white, which is where most of these stories come from when we look at Vanishing Hitchhiker stories.
Right. In that same vein, though, like when you say Resurrection Mary, people say it's this white dress, and they can tell you in detail what the dress looked like. So, the fact that it's more in detail of, it's denim overalls and all that isn't as surprising to me, but it is an interesting kind of like switch on the usual trope of woman in white, man in black.
Yep. All right. So, Count Panic, do you have any words to the audience this evening?
Bob, be careful out there when you're driving on the road for ghost and non-ghost alike. And remember, we share a road with these people, so be careful.
My word of advice real quick is make sure you screen your videos twice.
Oh, Bob.
Sorry, guys. I still feel really bad about that.
No,
I strive in way better than that.
I'm gonna steal this from the Bob After Dark Discord live show discussion. That video was pooey.
But I happen to like Mr. Masquerade. Just happened to be the one time he swore that I just tuned it out the time. Maybe I was going under other stresses.
Just said it in such a British accent that
that might have been it too. Now, Steve, what's going on with you in the wrestling world,
brother?
Uh-huh.
So let's see. I've got on March 28th, I will be in Honolulu, Hawaii.
Wow.
Wrestling
nice.
for Oos Wrestling. I'll be back out there. Should be an amazing match. And then on April 13th, I will be back at Rocket Pro Wrestling defending my RPW heavyweight title. Come on out. Aaron Stone gets his rematch, and that's fine. Because the outcome will be the same no matter what, and that's a Steve Michaels victory. This title is going nowhere. Love it or hate it, get used to it.
I mean, I love it, but that's just me.
What about Bob wants to finish his story?
You just gave Vix a heart attack.
Bob, if Bob wants to finish the story, I'm gonna come in like The Rock and just derail it completely.
If I was to get back in the ring, I'd have to lose about a little bit more weight, but that's beside the point.
It's okay. We'll put you in a cannon. You'll have a gimmick. It'll be great.
Cannonball Bob. ProWrestlingTees.com/Chicago Bear Hug for all of your Steve Michaels wrestling merch needs. Discount code at the end, Bob After Dark, for 10% off on your order.
Nope, not 50%.
The 10% off on your order, the Bob After Dark discount code. Also, you can follow Steve on whatever social medias. It's at Chicago Bear Hug most of places, correct?
All of the places.
All of the places at Chicago Bear Hug. For any of the social medias you want to follow them, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Threads.
I am on Threads.
Yes. What about Mastodon? Are you on Mastodon?
I am not.
Okay.
I'm not. I never got a Blue Sky invite, so I'm not.
You know who got a Blue Sky invite?
A person who hasn't given me one.
I got a Blue Sky invite.
I know you have.
I forgot I had it, but I totally got a Blue Sky invite, and I was just like, "What's a Blue Sky?" And I ignored it, and I was like, "Oh, I probably should have signed up for that because I was on the bottom floor. Man, I screwed that up." It's okay. Yeah. It's not like it's popular anyway, right? Yeah. Oh, well, anywho. Don't make me feel bad. Would you like to plug my store for a change?
Oh, wow. Yeah. Do you know what? Visit bobafterdark.com. Is that correct?
bobafterdark.com.
That doesn't sound right. bobafterdark.com/merch. And use promo code Appleseed for 50% off.
That is not
your entire order. Bob is a man of his word, and he wouldn't say anything on this show that isn't true.
My accountant is listening to this.
Bob
screaming.
would not allow me to say anything on this show that wasn't true or was harmful, and as a result, promo code Appleseed, 50% off.
There is no promo code Appleseed.
Use it. If it's not working, keep trying. And if that doesn't work, please send emails to bob@bobafterdark.com. And he will answer all of your technical questions.
Don't ask.
Did I do that? Did I do that right?
There's no promo cut up right now, guys.
Just keep trying.
I wanted to have the Steve Michaels promo code hopefully by when this podcast comes out. So if you're listening to this in podcast land, you can try
Appleseed.
No, you can try promo code Steve Michaels for 10% off on your order.
Steve After Dark.
Fine. You can use code Steve After Dark at checkout, hopefully for 10% off. If it doesn't work, I'm sorry.
And if it doesn't work, just, again,
don't email me about it.
Email Bob at bob@bobafterdark, and he will respond to all of your questions.
So, other thing, folks, if you're listening to this in podcast land, keep an eye on that because we're going to be adding more products. It's going to be looking prettier. We're going to do a grand opening soon. Right now, it's the soft open. We've had several orders. It's really cool.
I'm legitimately happy for you. I am proud that you've gotten this done.
Why are you laughing at me while you're doing this?
Because I know that you have run the back end of this thing. And I know how untechnically sound you are.
Oh, this was a nightmare. I want you to know that I had to pull every web development tool I have ever had in my life and countless calls over the past 2 days to try to make this work. I got it to work, kinda. We're getting there.
Yeah, I'm gonna personally contact one of them and get promo code Appleseed to work.
No, that's good. Folks, thank you for watching and listening to another episode of Bob After Dark. On behalf of me, Steve, and Count, we just want to wish you guys all good night and sweet dreams. To Mom, I hope you have sweet dreams. I know you're listening by the radio. Dad, wherever you are in the universe, I hope you're happy, comfortable, and doing whatever it is that you want to be doing. And to Tiff, no matter where you are in the world, I hope you're having the sweetest dreams of them all. Good night, everybody. Remember, the two most important rules of Bob After Dark are not all who wander are lost, and as above, so below. Until next time.